Hello, this is Carrie McLaughlin. I'm South Atlantic Council staff, and I'm going to review the public hearing summary for Coastal Migratory Pelagics Amendment 30. This is for the Atlantic cobia recreational fishing year. A little background on the federal fisheries regulatory process, starting at the bottom here. This is input from council staff. It's CDAR, our stock assessment program, the Scientific and Statistical Committee, and advisory panels and public input. All that input goes to the council. They gather that information from the scientists and the stakeholders and develop fishery management plans and amendments. The Coastal Migratory Pelagics Fishery Management Plan is a joint plan with the Gulf of Mexico Fishery Management Council. So the South Atlantic Council works with the Gulf Council to develop the amendments for this fishery management plan. Once those are approved by the councils, they are submitted to the National Marine Fisheries Service and the Secretary of Commerce, who reviews those amendments and then implements those as federal fishing regulations. So a little background on Amendment 30. In 2015, the recreational landings for Atlantic cobia exceeded the recreational annual catch limit. So the accountability measure for Atlantic cobia kicked in, and that resulted in a reduced 2016 recreational season. It closed on June 20th, 2016 for federal waters. And this resulted in negative social and economic impacts on recreational fishermen, especially in North Carolina and Virginia, since usually that fishing season isn't until a little bit later in the spring and summer. And so the South Atlantic Council had started work on Framework Amendment 4, and this included actions to change recreational harvest limits to 1 fish per person or 6 per vessel, and then also increase that minimum size limit to 36 inches fork length. And in September 2016, the South Atlantic Council approved Framework Amendment 4. There was an action in Framework Amendment 4 to change the recreational fishing year, but because in the current framework process for coastal migratory pelagics, we can't do that. The council moved that action into Amendment 30. So this is now an amendment to the Joint Fishery Management Plan, and so it's going to have to be approved by the Gulf of Mexico Council also. So in combination with those proposed harvest limits from Framework Amendment 4, changing the recreational fishing year is intended to reduce the risk of exceeding the annual catch limit again, and especially before the participants in all states have an opportunity to fish for cobia. So this is to hopefully taking that new bag limit, vessel limit, and minimum size limit into account to be sure that recreational harvest for Atlantic cobia is open during the times when folks in all the different states are fishing. So we did have public hearings for Framework Amendment 4 in August of this year, and we did include the action to change that recreational fishing year, even though in September the council had to remove that action and put it into this plan amendment. Then the South Atlantic Council approved all the other actions in Framework Amendment 4 in September. In October, the Gulf Council will review this amendment and consider final approval. And we're also having our public hearing webinar this month. And then in December 2016, the South Atlantic Council will review the public input, approve for formal review by the Secretary of Commerce, and then the changes will be implemented in spring or summer of 2017. So the areas that would be affected include fishermen harvesting Atlantic cobia in federal waters from Georgia through New York. So this Atlantic group here. And the boundary between the Gulf and Atlantic stocks is at the Georgia-Florida line. So all cobia caught on the east coast of Florida are considered part of the Gulf group. So there's only one action in this amendment, is to modify the recreational fishing year for Atlantic cobia. The current fishing year starts on January 1st and runs through December 31st. The South Atlantic Council's current preferred alternative would be to change that to May 1st through April 30th. So what would happen is on May 1st, that's when the quota kind of starts over. So However, for the landings are on May 1st, it would start over with the new fishing year's annual catch limit. Alternative 3 would start the fishing year on June 1st, and Alternative 4 would start the fishing year on April 1st. So here's a figure from the public hearing summary, and what it shows is that Atlantic cobia recreational landings for 2013 is the red line, the blue line is 2014, and the black one is landings for 2015, and then we have the averages in there. And this is charted by waves. So what you can see is the landings start to pick up in March and April. They peak in May and June, and then they start to go down in July and August. So really the season for Atlantic cobia starts in March and continues through September or October. So this is the most important time that the fishery be open and available to all the participants. This table shows the estimated dates when Atlantic cobia recreational landings would meet the recreational ACL under the proposed bag limit of 1 per person, vessel limit of 6, and the new minimum size limit from Framework Amendment 4. And what it does is it incorporates the landings from 2013 through 2015. So what this looks like is when the landings would reach that recreational ACL in a period of high landings and high effort and under those new bag limits. So under the South Atlantic preferred alternative, the landings would reach the ACL around mid-July, which would be similar to the current fishing year, January 1st through December 31st. If it opened in June, the landings would be estimated to go all the way into the next May, so 11 or 11 and a half months. And then if it opened in April, it would be about 3.5 months. So again, this is would be what we estimate it would look like if it was a period of high landings and high effort like in 2015. The next table, which is table S-3 from the public hearing summary, is the same analysis except that it looks at landings from 2005 through 2014. And so what we were trying to capture here is what it would look, what the dates would look like under a more average landings and effort pattern. So in most years, under the proposed bag limit and vessel limit and minimum size limit, this would slow harvest enough to where landings wouldn't reach the ACL until mid-October or so. Under the South Atlantic preferred, under that bag limit, it would go until March of the following year, so about 10 months. And then but the vessel limit would keep it at least open through October, we would expect. Under Alternative 3 with June 1st, it would be about 6 months. And then starting in April, it could go through October, but then we would expect it under that bag limit to extend the season out until February. So what can the public do? You can participate in a webinar on October 25th at 6 p.m. We'll have a presentation and a question answer with staff here, and then we'll do the recorded public comment session, and all your comments will be included in the public record and provided to the council and for their December meeting. You can register at our public hearing and scoping meeting schedule webpage. We also have an online form that you can use at that page, or you can mail comments to us. And if you want your comments to be included in the comment overview for the December meeting, we need those by November 15th. All the comments on the form and anything that's mailed in will be provided to the council. It's just not going to be in the meeting briefing book. So if you need more information, you have questions about cobia or the amendment, you can contact me, Carrie McLaughlin, at the office, or you can email me. And then any general questions about the council, you can get in touch with our fishery outreach specialist, Amber Von Harten, our public information officer, Kim Iverson. There are a couple of additional slides in the PDF if anybody needs a little more information about landings or about the framework process. But you can get in touch with me if you have any more questions. Thanks for listening.